We're all in business for a reason. The problem that so many small business owners have is they go in 10 million different directions, not really sure which way to go. Listen as your team of experts, Jennifer Glass and Patricia Reszetylo, go through what you need in your business to really make it stand out and benefit you. Because it's the bottom line that matters. Hello and welcome to another episode of It's the Bottom Line That Matters podcast, where we are dedicated to your success. One of the things, first of all, that I want to start our show with is thanking you so much for checking us out. If this is the first time you're listening, thank you. If this is another episode that you've been listening to, thank you so much for your loyal listenership. On our conversation today, we are going to be talking about how do we grow into the business that we are trying to ultimately form and rewiring your identity to get there. Both Patricia and I, in our own journeys, are in the process of transitioning focus for our businesses, for what it is that we are trying to do. And I can talk for myself. I'm not really going into a completely different area in my business. It's just focusing in a different level and client base than what I was doing before, which is a significant difference in that regard. And Patricia will talk about what she's doing in just a moment. But I want to preface this conversation with the idea: how do we start looking at what we need to be doing to get into that identity, and how do we rewire our minds and the way that we operate in a way that will allow us to have that identity to match how we are shaping our business that we want it to be going into. So Patricia, as I bring you in on the conversation, let me ask you, first of all, we've been talking for a while. You've got a couple of different irons in the fire, if you will, that you're working on. But you're obviously looking at significantly changing your business model in many different ways. So I want to start the conversation from that perspective. If I can ask you to start, what would you say you're looking at doing before we even get into how you're looking at your identity and everything else?
Yeah. So everything that I do ends up being community oriented somehow. I don't know, maybe it's just the lens I look at it, through. Um, and I have a couple different ventures that I'm working on. So one is improving the stewardshipness that people approach their business with, and specifically with regards to how they follow up with leads, whether they're new leads or old leads. The other major different iron that I have is a business partner and I are working on starting a restaurant locally to me. He's located somewhere else, so that makes it challenging. Um, and I'm trying to figure out all the little pieces that will go into that and what is the smallest MVP, minimal viable product, right, that we can do to start proving and refining our model around that.
Absolutely. And so those are two wildly different kinds of uh, business models that you're talking
Yes.
about. It's not like you're looking at two different programs within the existing business. You're talking a hospitality industry and you're talking a service program for business owners, two
Yep.
totally different businesses. So the question then becomes, if we think about what it is you're trying to do, you're trying to be a concurrent entrepreneur or a serial entrepreneur running this multiple businesses at the same time. In your mind, what are you needing to do to get to that point where you can then say, these are the two businesses and how I'm going to be looking at spending my time between the two different entities and how you are going to be looking at the different milestones and everything else, like you mentioned, the MVP for the restaurant. How are you looking at ultimately doing that to get to where you would otherwise want to be?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, well, with the first one, which is we could call it online business services, um, I have plans to get it set up so that it doesn't need me on a day-to-day basis. I'll come in with strategy. I might come in with answers if somebody needs help, but um, it'll be mostly automated with a few actual humans to shepherd the process as needed. Yeah. With the restaurant piece, that one's a little trickier. I plan on, notice I said plan. I plan on being more on the strategic and marketing and maybe admin side of things. Whereas my partner, who is literally a chef, will be engaged and there will be some overlap between us because there's plenty of things he knows that I totally don't. Um, yeah. So, I mean, and with the restaurant, going back to the restaurant, there is a limitation, a physical limitation to what I can and cannot do. Uh, I have terrible back. I have a bad hand now. Of course, that doesn't discount that my chef has two bad hands. He's a lefty, right? And chef work is really, really, really hard on hands and arms. So he developed carpal tunnel, had surgery on his left hand, taught himself how to function again using calligraphy. He is an artist. Um, and so now his right hand is going. He knows he's got a limited time left. So we've got a window. So we're hoping to get things up and running before his window closes.
Right. So let me kind of introduce where I am, and then that way we can have more of that easy conversation. So, like you, I've got my hands in several different places, and my business has grown over the years in different areas. So, I started out in the payment processing space, in the credit card processing, and went into the web hosting, marketing, and eventually became a business coach, helping clients with their marketing, with their business strategy, things along those lines. I still have all of my existing businesses, but the focus that I'm moving into with my business, instead of it being traditional business coaching for smaller businesses, is looking at talking to $5 to $100 million businesses and helping them figure out a lot of the same things I was doing as a business coach, but working with them one on one in a much more concentrated effort to find the leverage that they need to be moving the needle even more for them. So, in terms of growing into that business mindset, it is still a shift because I need to move from I'm talking to businesses that are doing $3 million and under to $5 to $100 million. And that is an entirely different avatar in terms of who I'm speaking with. Now, I'm probably not going to immediately look for the $100 million people. I may look for the 5 to 20 in the very beginning because that's not as big of a jump from the three that I was already doing. But it allows me, though, to still grow into that and needing to shift my identity and understand what I am offering now versus what I'm moving into. And that also necessitated me saying consciously, I know that I need to set certain things aside. So that meant in my LinkedIn profile, as an example, I needed to shift the languaging and I needed to make it talk more to the people that I want to attract rather than the people that I was attracting. And that becomes extremely important as part of that, how do you shape your identity to match the business that you are trying to run over the next 12, 18, 24 months? So, Patricia, now let's bring this back now to you because you've got those two wildly different businesses. And that's not to say that I don't. I said the payment processing, marketing, web, review, all of those things, they all have very different models, even though they're all still ultimately designed to help a business grow its bottom line. So that's my connection. Like I had somebody ask me once, a client asked me, he's like, Jen, you're not selling greeting cards and the credit card processing, right? I'm like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I've got nothing to do with the greeting cards. You want greeting cards? My friend Larry can help you, on that side. I'm not doing that. But
Yeah.
you, though, have that very different model. So if you're looking again at the identity, when you are going to be talking with people and you're going to be telling them what you do, how would you be, first of all, telling them at, let's say, as an example, a networking event, what it is that you do? Would you say, well, I've got multiple businesses. One of them is I own a restaurant on Route 22, whatever it may be. Or, I've got this lead management program for businesses.
Right, right. And that is a challenge that I always run up against. Uh, the inclination is to, what is the term? Verbal diarrhea and tell them everything about all of it because I'm so engrossed in it and I find it so fascinating and surely they will too.
Of
But
course.
yeah, I mean, really, it's just fascinating. And often then they reinforce that and they say, well, that's fascinating. And I mean, you always assume that they really mean it, but maybe they are just saying, wow, this lady's crazy. You're never really sure. But some of it's going to be contextual. Where am I? What is my focus here about? Um, and it's a thing that I do struggle with. And I work on one and then I work on the other one. And I know I'll figure it out someday. But
Right. So, can I actually, if it's okay, give you a suggestion?
sure.
One of the things you might want to do is ask them first to tell you what they do. And the reason I say that is because you can then shape what you do based on what they're doing.
Right.
Because if they
Right.
tell you that they're operating, as an example, a law office, the restaurant may or may not be valuable, but the
Yeah.
lead management program is certainly going to be much more beneficial to them
Yeah.
if they are that kind of client, as opposed to they're a banker, in which case the restaurant would be the better opportunity.
Probably. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
Because the
way,
banker
it's
I'll
one
invite to
way
come
that you
out.
can at least minimize the confusion.
Yes. 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 That's that is that is something that I will actually incorporate into my conversational strategy. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about what you do.
I asked you
And
first.
maybe, yeah. Yeah, that's a problem. Uh,
Well, here's the thing, Patricia. Let me explain to you. I know that you asked me first, but the truth is, Patricia, I can tell you a whole lot of things, but I don't know exactly the right kind of things that would actually make a difference for you. So
right.
please help me know a little bit more about you, and then I'd be happy to share.
That's actually that's a good strategy. And that's something to incorporate in. Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You see, I've been around the block a couple of times.
I have too, but a lot of it's been wandering. So, but there's value there too.
Oh, there
Oh,
totally is. All right. So if we're talking with our friends who are listening, and they are going through a similar kind of shift in their business that they're looking at growing into their business. What would the top one or two things be that you would say they definitely want to focus on as they are moving into that direction?
Right. So as I've been developing my lead management business, I've come to understand that, well, leads aren't bad. They go dead, but there's a reason usually. And there's like two or three reasons. And the biggest overall reason is that the business owner doesn't understand the level of stewardship that they have for those clients. Those, I mean, they're prospective clients anyway, right? And the deeper relationship that you can have with them, the more stewardship, the more responsibility that you take in your business, uh, the more you come to understand that letting them fall through the cracks is something that can usually be prevented. And it comes down to systems. And, you're not going to consider the systems unless you're taking, a hold of the responsibility of the stewardship. So it's, for me, it's a stewardship issue. Um, Again, that's a lens that I see a lot of things through these days. And the more stewardship that I can help somebody take, the better their business is going to run.
Right. Okay, so a couple of things that I would make a recommendation for. The first one is think about, and I don't like using the word should normally in business, but I want you though to say I should or want in what you are looking at and put down 10 things that you think you should be doing and that you want to be doing. And then I want you to look at whether or not you believe that that is actually the case to help you as you move forward in your new vision of your business. It becomes really important. Again, that's what I mentioned earlier about the LinkedIn profile as an example, needing to completely rewrite the profile to focus on my ideal avatar instead of the people that I was before. Because if I say that I should be continuing to speak with those people, the belief is that really true? From a cash flow perspective, yes, until I'm back at the point where I've got all those other clients coming in, I still need to serve the smaller ones. But I need, though, to be looking at how is that going to be moving my needle? And is it going to help me get to where I want the business to be as opposed to where the business is? The other thing is also, and Patricia, you have spoken about this several times before, I'm pretty sure on this show, is affirmations. One of the things that we do get stuck in is we get stuck in the financial traps. We're so used to operating our business at the level where it is right now that when we think about growing into a bigger business, we kind of have that problem. Like, will I be able? And again, I know I said the word able, and that's one of those words that my coaches told me. Uh, Really quick, my coach Rachel, she pointed out to me that in a single paragraph when I was doing a presentation, she said, you use the word able 13 times in that paragraph. You have
I
got to get rid
believe
of
it.
it because you become an enabler, not somebody who's really helping them get to where they need to be.
Yeah,
Completely
yeah.
different mindset. But if you are at that point, though, where you are looking at what it is you are doing, and then you need to have more money coming in, and you are in that position to really manage that additional business financially, emotionally, physically, psychologically, all of these different issues, these come down to the affirmations also. I am already handling the larger volume. I am already handling the larger clients. I am already doing X, Y, and Z. That becomes really important in terms of how you start to shift your own identity and your mindset in terms of how you go from A to Z in terms of the business. You need to really think about where it is you are and what you are trying to ultimately get at. So, Patricia, let me ask you as we wrap up our conversation, if you had one thought that really stuck out and said, I have to incorporate this, what would that one thought be?
For me, it's becoming a better steward of my business, of the people who come into it, and how I take care of them. And you take better care of them, whether that means you're getting to them faster or it means that you're offering more things, or however that shows up. Being a better steward of that business means you're going to take better care of those people, and
Okay.
then just the revenues, the economics follow.
Right. And for our friends listening, I want you to take out a piece of paper or pull out your phone if you're listening to this on public transportation. If you're listening to this while you're driving, just kind of make a mental note. And if you're sitting at your desk, you can do it on paper or on your computer, however it's easier, but paper is usually better because that simple muscle memory. But write down the one key takeaway that you got from this episode because that key takeaway is really going to be significantly important for you to be following. Because if you got one thing in your mind from listening to this show about growing into the business that you want to be growing into, it is so important that you look at what that aha moment was as you continue moving forward. Because in 6 months, you may have already achieved what you were looking at doing. And will that same aha moment be the same thing that will continue to catapult you time and time again? But if you have it written down somewhere, it is really going to make a huge difference in terms of where you go. So, on that note, thank you again for listening. We hope that you will continue to check us out. And on that note, this has been another episode of It's the Bottom Line That Matters. And until next time, here is to your success. Thanks so much for listening to another amazing episode of It's the Bottom Line That Matters podcast. We're all about helping the small business community grow and reaching as many people as we can. And the algorithms on the podcast programs love reviews. So if you loved what you just heard, consider leaving us a review. And even if you don't, I'm sure you already did, but consider sharing our episodes and our podcast with your friends and colleagues. Sharing is caring, and here's to your success. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful day.
It's the bottom line that matters.